Now, children, today we're going to learn all about misbehaving during a meeting.
Will there be detentions?
There'll be disciplinary action following. Okay, confirmation of quorum, we're good to go. Call to order. I call to order.
We have quorum?
We have quorum. The chair acknowledged, oh, you know what? I forgot that little piece of paper. They were located on the territory, traditional territory of the Lakota people. Did I do that correctly? Thank you. Adoption of public agenda.
So moved, Colburn.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Petition and delegations, there is none. Adoption of minutes,
So moved, Colburn.
Second.
discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Business arising from minutes? Nope. Public considerations? Nope. Notice of motion, chair report, none. Consent calendar, none. Committee chair report. That the draft minutes of the inaugural meeting of the First Nation Relations Committee held on January 25th, 2023 be received.
So moved, Colburn.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Electoral Area Service Committee, for the draft minutes from the special budget. Julie, you're going to jump in there? Sorry. The special budget meeting of the Electoral Area Service Committee that was held on January 26, 2023 be received.
So moved, Mawini.
Second, Vinesh.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Strathcona Gardens Commission, that the draft minutes of the special meeting of the Strathcona Gardens Commission held on January 31st, 2023 be received. Thank you. Second? Second from Mr. Rice. Sorry, Director Rice. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Extraterritorial reports. That the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Move receipt.
Second.
Mr. Director Wally and Director Colburn, and to the CAO, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe Sheena will speak to this.
Morning, Sheena.
Through the chair, good morning to all of you directors. So this is a bit of a different type of report than ones I've written in the past. It's a resolution that would have come through the Comox Strathcona Waste Management Group, but due to the timings of the various board meetings and the required submission date for a resolution, the Comox Valley Regional District is asking if the SRD Regional Board would like to support their resolution, which is all around it providing improved access to recycling to remote communities. So currently, communities are deemed served under a, set of standards that the Recycle BC uses to define remote, urban, and rural areas, where most of the CVRD is within a 60 or 90-minute zone to get to recycling, and the CVRD would like to submit a resolution to improve the terms of reference, essentially, that would improve access to recycling programs for our remote and rural residents. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Anyone? Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a couple of alternatives if people want to support.
Okay, so we look at,
I could make a subsequent if you'd like.
I'm sorry,
I could make a subsequent if you like.
please. We're still on receipt. Discussion? All in favor of receipt? Opposed? Seeing none? Carried, go ahead.
So I would move that the Strathcona Regional District support the sponsored resolution of the CVRD regarding improved access to recycling for remote communities as set out in the January 27th letter from the CVRD to the ADICC.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, it is carried. Staff reports. Fire protection study for Gold River Highway, that report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt, Colburn.
Second.
Rice is the second. CAO,
Nothing to add, Mr. Chair.
thank you. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that the staff will authorize to meet with the representative of the Upper Campbell Lake and Strathcona Park Lodge to investigate the feasibility of providing fire protection service.
So moved.
So Colburn,
Second.
second is Rice. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Gate installation request, evacuation route access. Report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received. That's Wally.
Second.
Second is Rice. Just CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Koopman will speak to this for us. I think Robin has a subsequent,
So through the chair to the regional board, we have received a request from a resident on Sotil Road on Quadra Island to install a gate where Sotil Road intersects with Crown land so that the residents can have keys to open it and use it in the event of an evacuation as a secondary route.
Any questions for Sean? Director Wally.
Is this the one, Sean, that had the boulders in the way that you couldn't access it?
Correct.
So my question is, why not just move the boulders? If there's a gate, it's not going to be locked, I suppose, or it wouldn't be usable. Why not just move the boulders?
Yeah, through the chair to Director Wally, I inform the residents that during an evacuation in a state of local emergency, we don't need to ask for permission to move the boulders. We could just get heavy equipment and do so. He found that answer to be insufficient.
What was wrong with having the boulders permanently removed?
Oh, the landowner does not want uncontrolled access into the area. They want a barrier there.
But I don't understand. If there's a gate, then it's got to be locked if it's not uncontrolled. So if it's a locked gate, who can go through it anyway?
Through the chair to Director Wally, that's something that we'd have to address if this goes further. I'm assuming the residents want keys to access it.
I would think likely it's, because if the boulder's removed and somebody goes through there and leaves the gate open, that's a concern for the landowner, I would assume. But, okay. Everybody's good? No more questions?
I have a
Dr.
question,
Bonish?
just if just explain the difference between A and B as far as ramifications for us.
Yeah, so through the chair to the director, option A, we would looking to establish a service area just of the residents that would benefit from that gate, so likely just the Sotil Road area. Option B is wider spread, and it allows us to consider these requests regionally for Crown land.
Okay. Director Chapman.
Thank you, Chair. These boulders, they're currently sitting on public property or private property?
Through the chair to the director, we haven't mapped out exactly where the boulders are, but I believe they're where the public property starts, where the Crown land starts.
Anyone else? Sorry, Director Dahl?
It says that the gate would replace the boulders that are currently blocking vehicle access to provincial Crown land. So it's pretty clear that it's provincial land, and that would suggest that the landowner next door doesn't really get to determine the access in and out. That they shouldn't have any concerns, it's not their land anyway.
I think you're, oh, this is right. I think you're correct. However, again, we've communicated that with the individual and they preferred that it be brought to the board, but yeah, we concur with you.
Director Murwini.
I think the issue is that the Crown land is currently part of a woodlot. And the woodlot manager and owner does not want access to, and that's why the boulders are there. The other access routes into the woodlot are already gated. For some reason, this one has boulders.
Director Wally.
We probably don't know the answer to this, but Sean, can a woodlot owner on Crown land prevent people from using access to that spot?
Through the director, through the chair to the director, I mean, day to day, yes. During an emergency, no. Because when we declare a state of local emergency to assist with evacuations, we're privy to several powers under the Emergency Program Act.
So it would seem to me that this is a non-issue, that just move the boulders and forget about it. In an emergency, people will use it.
Through the chair to the director, that was my initial response, and as our CAO mentioned, this resident was adamant this come to the board.
Okay, so what we're looking for here is a motion on whether to move the boulders or not?
Option A. Do you want to?
Right. Director Murwini?
Have we done receipt of this report already?
No, we have not.
Because I have a subsequent, which isn't A, B, or C.
D. Excellent.
I'd like to call it A+.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, so that's everything on receipt? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, Director Mowini.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to move that the regional district investigate and report the options for funding the installation and maintenance of a gate at the end of Soutal Road on Quadra Island, including the costs to local ratepayers if a defined service area service were to be undertaken.
Do we have a second from Director Wally? Do we have discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Koopman. Number 3, Crown Land Application Referrals to the Regional District, that the report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Director Wally, Director Mowini, and CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing to add.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 4, grant opportunity, green and exclusive community building. Report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Director Rice, Director Wally, second. CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing to add.
All in favor? Opposed? I'm sorry. Yeah, this one here. I missed the discussion part, but we could talk about it later. B, that the application be submitted under the Infrastructure Canada Green and Exclusive Community Building. I'm sorry? I apologize, inclusive, thank you. Funding program from the Recreate New Aquatic Center. Director Goulburn, no? I'm sorry? This is B. Oh, it's Campbell River, I apologize.
Move receipt.
I can second it.
Director Rice? Yes. And then it goes to Campbell River?
Is he moving B or receipt, because we've already done receipt?
Are you moving B? You're moving B, okay. And Director Colburn, you can second that? And would you all like to discuss it, or? No? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Consumption of legal drugs. That the report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Director Rice, Director Wally, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And B, that a report be prepared for referral to the Strathcona Regional Commission on illegal drugs consumption of the Strathcona Gardens Recreation Facility.
Move B.
Move receipt.
I'm sorry, we're not on receipt.
I'll make the motion, but I would change it from illegal drugs to controlled substances under the federal legislation. I think it's just the proper term.
Okay, so as amended,
Second.
Director Kerr, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Carried. Cultural awareness training, that the report from the CAO be received.
Second, Vinesh.
Second, Mowini. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? You're good. B, that the elected official cultural training plan, for 2023-2024 be developed for further consideration.
Moved, Colburn.
Second, Vinesh.
Second, Vinesh. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Poverty Reduction Planning and Action Grant Application, that the report from the Chief Administrator Officer be received.
Second, Colburn.
Second, Colburn. First, Director Wally, CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Renee will speak to this.
Good afternoon, Chair Baker and directors. The report before you is to determine interest in the SRD submitting an application to develop a regional poverty reduction strategy and action plan. Funding is available through the UBCM Poverty Reduction Program. This program is designed to support the province's poverty reduction strategy, and they have recently released their fourth intake for funding. The intention of a regional poverty reduction strategy would be to develop greater cohesion in planning to reduce poverty throughout the region. A strategy could be developed collaboratively with member municipalities, key community partners, Indigenous organizations, business, and people living with lived experience. A strategy would build upon existing data and projects such as the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, rural housing surveys, the transportation study, and followed up with significant engagement and collaboration from all areas and sectors within our communities. It would develop a roadmap and actionable short and long-term activities to reduce poverty and work towards creating a region where people have sufficient income. Stream 1 of the UBCM Poverty Reduction Program provides funding to develop plans and assessments. These plans are a prerequisite to access Phase 2 of the funding, which is designed to implement projects. All costs for the development of a plan would be covered 100% through the grant. A regional district may access up to $150,000 of grant funding, whereas a single municipality is limited to $25,000. The application would be completed in partnership with interested municipalities and organizations, and applications are due March 17th.
Thank you. Questions, Director Wally?
Yes, the $150,000 is to develop the plan. Is there any requirement to follow through with the plan once developed? And if there is there any cost to the regional district in that follow-up?
The idea behind the strategy is that organizations and groups would collaborate together to develop the action plan. Some organizations would take on certain pieces of the action plan and some would take on others. So collectively, there would be, buy-in and commitment from communities to implement.
Right, but my main thrust of my question was, will there be any future costs to the electoral area and the municipalities to support this program?
I think that would depend on the outcome of the plan and what it looked like. There is funding for implementation for phase 2 of this particular program, so they would access the funds through that. As well, it opens the door for other grants that might be available to implement projects.
Yeah, if I might, just one more thing. I think I understand what you're saying here, but my only concern is that after the grant money dries up, are we still committed and obligated to continue on funding something ourselves?
I think the simple answer is no. No. We're not obligated to do anything.
Director Colburn?
Just curious, as part of this planning, I know that there is mention in the report of stakeholders, and I'm wondering if those stakeholders would include the Mount Waddington Regional District. And the reason that I ask that is because as you go further up the island, we're all North Island, right? And it only makes sense to maybe see what they have already and include them. So I was just wondering if you could speak to that at all, or if that was a consideration.
At this point, we haven't reached out to Mount Waddington, but I would imagine there's quite a bit of overlap.
Thank you for that.
Anyone else? No, so that was on receipt. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none? Carried. So we got B, an application up to $150,000 be submitted for Stream 1 of the UBCM Poverty Reduction Planning and Action Plan to develop a regional poverty reduction strategy and action plan. Should I do them separately or go together?
They're together.
They're together? Don't put them together. And that the regional district serve the primary application with the responsible to apply for, receive, manage the grant funding on behalf of the project partners, including the interest members, municipalities.
I would move that.
Director Colburn,
Second, Vinesh?
Director Vinesh, discussion. Director Kerr.
Thank you, Chair. And on this, so, once the plan is developed, any future grant applications would still come back to the board before?
Correct.
Great, thank you.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. CAO?
Mr. Chair, if I may just interject, Director Kerr just inspired a thought in me that maybe a few of the new board members don't know. So all grant applications, I believe over 50,000 must come to this board. The board made a resolution because of timely matters that if it was under 50,000, I could provide support on behalf of the board. Often there'll be an application, we won't have time to bring it to the board, but that limit is 50,000. So anything beyond that must come to this board for endorsement.
Thank you. Okay, the proposed transportation service, West Coast Communities. The report from the CAO be received.
Move receipt.
Colburn, second.
Second.
Director Mawhinney. And Mr. Yates. Would you like to speak to that?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pardon me. So over a year ago, the board charged staff with investigating the concept of a regional transportation service to serve the West Coast communities, so-called. The report in front of you today is basically the preliminary analysis results. And, pardon me, we're looking for the board to give some further direction as to where they would like to go with this. We've outlined a number of different alternative service levels. I'm just going to pull that up on the screen. So we've got two alternatives recommended for the board's consideration. Option A is to look at one or more of the service levels that we've identified in the report. And they range from everything from twice a day to once a month, I believe, in terms of the frequency of service. Option B would be, of course, that we drop this whole matter and not look into it further. So the reason for that is to try and narrow down the number of options, which right now are in the hundreds, to some manageable level that we could then, if the board wishes, come back with further details in terms of the costs and the other partners that would be involved, be the BC Transit, City of Campbell River, Mount Waddington Regional District, et cetera, and flesh out those details for the board if they're interested. Thank you.
All in favor? Are we receipt? I'm sorry?
Yeah, we're on receipt.
Yeah. We already did the motion, did we not? Shall we go to all in favor? No?
Yes.
We have somebody else?
Speakers.
Oh, sorry. Director Davis. You're muted, sir.
Still can't hear you.
I believe you could put it in the chat if we can't get audio. Is that correct? Yep. I'm learning this IT stuff.
That Teams got a nice chat window.
Is he typing into the chat?
I support once a week.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Director Colburn?
I'll take a kick at this. Yeah, and I think that for people coming up to, out to remote communities and in from remote communities, I think most of your travel is used to, running on a pay schedule when you go to town, those kinds of things, and when people are coming out as well. So I would as well be supportive of a 1 or 2 week. So I would make a subsequent with D or E for option 1.
So we'll call to question. Director Davis? You're typing? That was a thumbs up. What was one of them? Okay. We are on receipt. All in favor of receipt? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. We have a motion, Director Colburn.
So I would move that a further report to examine potential operation models and possible service partnerships based on service level D and E be prepared for the board's consideration, and I would speak to that if there was a seconder.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Director Rooney? Director Wally?
Oh, can I speak to the motion?
Sure.
I just wanted to give the reasoning behind why I chose D and E. I think a weekly or every week or 2 weeks or biweekly is sufficient. And I would also be really interested in hearing what kind of dollar amounts would be expected from ridership if this was going to go forward. I think that we can bump down maybe some possible requisition. I'm really interested in learning more about it.
Thank you. Director Wally?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an amendment. My amendment is to add the words "and that electoral areas A and D be removed as participants in the proposed transportation service." And if I have a seconder, I'll speak to that.
Second?
Go ahead, Director
Thank
Wally.
you. Yes. As for Area A, I can speak more specifically to that. We won't be participating in this service. We have many reasons why. I'll just give you 3 here. 1, we already have a very successful delivery service from Campbell River to Sayward. We already have a transportation van for people from Sayward to Campbell River and back. We already have a free prescription delivery service from Campbell River. So we don't need to be involved in paying for another service. We're fully looked after ourselves. So I would really appreciate it if you, the board, would treat areas A and D in the same category as B and C that are already exempted from this service and exclude us. Thank you.
Director Colburn?
I just have a question. As my municipality lies in your area, is someone from New Chatlet could get free delivery or free, or has a service already?
We do.
And also from Fair Harbor?
No.
Oh, okay. I would just, because that's your area as well, right? So I just wanted to be clear.
Anyone else? So the motion on the floor is amended by Director Wally. Sorry, Mr. Yates?
Mr. Chairman, there is an amendment on the floor. The motion put forward by Director Colburn has not yet been amended. If the amendment passes, then of course the motion that Director Colburn placed before the board, seconded by Director Mawhinney, would then be up for consideration as amended. But right now, the motion before the board is whether to amend the motion put forward by Director Colburn.
Director Colburn.
And just one further thing. So I won't be in favor of the amendment because these are quite large areas, and I know that there are other services that do exist. However, I don't know how you can enable someone getting on that service if this is an augmented service, an extra service, to say, no, sorry, your area didn't participate in this, so you can't ride. It doesn't make sense to me. That's all.
Director Wally?
I'm not saying that my residents couldn't ride. I mean, I'm sure there's a fee to ride, and if the municipalities want to accept additional fee-paying passengers, why not? I have no prohibitions on anything. It's just that Area A, as a electoral area, doesn't want to be a participant in the service. It doesn't mean that my residents can't ride if you're willing to let them board the bus.
Director Rice? Oh, sorry. Director Rice?
Just, I know that it was mentioned that it would be interesting to see what the ridership buy-in would be, and I think the report already had that it seemed when I read the report that who's ever going to be using this service, they weren't thrilled with paying it. You know, 21% of the people were willing to pay $6 to $10 per trip. 27% of the people were willing to pay $16 to $25 per trip. And I believe there was another number there with 20% was even lower than that. So, I mean, this is solely going to come most likely out of taxation. So I think we need to choose wisely. Thank you.
Okay, so we're voting on the amendment, on Director Wally's amendment.
Could you just read the amendment? I thought that might include Area D, but I'm not
It does.
quite clear. Okay.
Please.
Adding the words and that electoral areas A and D be removed as participants in the proposed transportation service.
Director Rice?
Again, I think the reason why I'm concerned about having Area D involved in this is that the residents that would be taxed on this are quite small. So if any of the options that are being proposed, whether, you know, it's how many trips per week, until, you know, I mean, that looks like it's going to cost those taxpayers money. I think the other concern that I have is that a portion of those homes that are in that area are recreational properties. And I don't think it's fair that they're paying a taxation on transportation when, you know, again, those properties are used for recreation. I don't see how this really comes into play. Thank you.
Director Chapman?
Chair, with the proposed amendment, if it goes through, who are the participating areas remaining?
That would be everybody in the Strathcona Regional District other than the electoral areas, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Is there? Boy, if you were here. Kevin, Director Jules.
Hello, good day, everyone. Just a question, if Area A is taken off, does that mean Cayuga is taken off?
Yes.
Well, that's a good question because Fair Harbor, we have Cayuga, which is not an Area A. I'm going to say no, actually.
Sorry, Director Yates?
Okay, so
Uh,
Mr. Yates?
Just so we're not confused here. If electoral area A is removed from the study area, then, or the service, then I would assume that whether Cayuga-Chesapeake still wishes to participate in the service would be a question, because would the regional district actually run buses through electoral area A? Would be, I think, a fair question to ask, if that area is not participating whatsoever in the service. So just so we're clear, there may be a difference between participating in the service and where the buses are actually running within the service area. So just want to be clear, there could be a distinction there.
So may I ask a question, just for clarification? The proposed buses that, excuse me, that are going to be running, could they also be carrying people from Campbell River to Zabelis, for example, for tourism?
Yes. And just for those who can't kind of visualize, the Cayuga electoral area and why we have a bit of confusion, I didn't anticipate that, but if any of you have been out to Fair Harbor, then you take a boat out to Walters Cove, and you have the Walters Cove Island that is electoral area A, and right adjacent to that is the KCFN First Nation, which is not electoral area. So again, caught me off guard a little bit, but the Fair Harbor stop, the thought process was that would pick up folks from KCFN and Walters Cove in Area A. If Area A was successfully and D removed from that, I don't think it would be reasonable to not still have a pickup in this service from Fair Harbor, because we have KCFN folks on there.
Director Dahl?
thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. Director Dahl, then Director Davis.
The question was asked, who was going to fund this, and you said everybody but electoral area A and D?
All of them.
And B and C. When this originally came to the board about a year ago,
Sorry, somebody online has muted. Thank you.
so when it originally came to the board, it was areas B and C had opted out because of their physical distance in the water gap, if you will. We were talking about transportation. So the board deemed it reasonable that it would be everybody but B and C. Now, in this amendment, we have A and D. So now we're talking about just the muni municipalities that would be financially contributing to this, if the board passes that amendment.
So Campbell River would be contributing to this?
Absolutely, yes.
So the question I have, if people from the north can actually hop on this from North Island, from wherever that is, come to Campbell River and come to Area D as well, correct? Tourism or shopping and so on and so forth. So I don't see how this is a service that does not benefit the region. Director Rice, Director Davis is first. I apologize.
Yes, can you hear me this time?
We can, thank you.
Oh, great. I had to switch laptops. Sorry about that.
all
This
good.
is really important to me because I have been advocating for this from the start. It would be a huge boon to our community. We have a high retirement population here, and a lot of them aren't able to travel this road in the winter because of the hazards with snow and all that. And I know it would get a good subscription in this area. I would also point out, I know some communities may not feel like this is worthy of being taxed on this, but particularly Campbell River, but we do all use Campbell River for services, whether it be hospital, grocery shopping, those sort of things, and we contribute a lot of money to that area. So I just want people to be cognizant of that. All our small communities support Campbell River, and this is a reason for increasing access between them. So that's basically what I wanted to say at this point.
Okay, thank you. Director Rice?
What I was going to point out to the directors is that it's not that I'm opposed to a transportation program. I'm opposed to the way it's only targeting about 50 residents in Area D. So again, this could be a fairly expensive service that you're asking Area D to basically up the taxes on about 50 residents. If it was spread out over a greater area of Area D, and I'm not arguing whether Area D would benefit or not, again, I think that would be more palatable. So I'm opposed to this because you are going after those 50 residents that are up in that area. Thank you.
Why don't we bring back more information, get the staff to look into it a little deeper, get more information, which could also in line with costs. Okay, Director Wally?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Costs aren't a factor for Area A. Like I said, we have alternate things that we have already set up. But the one additional point I wanted to mention is I don't think, Director Dahl,
Sorry.
I wonder if I could have attention of the board for a moment. Yeah, the point I wanted to make was I don't think it's appropriate or fair to force areas into a service that they don't want to join. I just don't think that's appropriate. So if you vote against my amendment, then you leave me with no choice but to call the provincial service review and have a big fight over it. I don't want to do that. I think you should respect the independence of electoral areas. If they want to join, let them join. If they don't, let them exempt themselves. Thank you.
Director Yates.
Just
Mr. Yates.
Just Citizen Yates. Mr. Chairman, just so we're clear, this is really about further investigation into this proposal. The board is not being asked at this point to confirm who is in or who is out. That point would come if the board says, we like the service, we want a bylaw to be drafted to establish the service. Then the board can say, these are the areas we want in, these are the areas that should be out. So I'm not saying that the board should not be having these conversations. I'm simply saying, at this point, there is no confirmation of who's in. There is no ability to do service reviews or any of that. That would all follow further discussion if the board wishes it.
Director Wally.
Yeah, just one final comment, not to belabor this point, but if we're in now, it'll affect the calculation of the costs. If we're out tomorrow, it'll affect the calculation of the costs. Why not calculate the costs correctly where we're not in, both myself and Area D? You'll have accurate costs that way, and we'll look after it right at the beginning.
I would say for the Village of Hayward, we'd be in. Even if we do have the age-friendly service, but that runs at certain times when volunteers are available, when they are available to drive, not always. Director Kerr?
Thank you. And yeah, I think until we know costs, I mean, in principle, it sounds like a great thing, and I understand, there's shopping done in Campbell River, and, it's to our citizens' advantage, at least our businesses perhaps, but until you know the actual costs that we're talking about, when you have, the expectation that Campbell River, who I think we pay 70% or more, that is going to pick up the burden in this. To me, when you got different electoral areas that are sort of cherry picking services, and I think, if it's good for one, it's good for everyone. That's, just my feeling.
Yep. Thank you. Director Sinnott?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not in favor of the amendment for exactly what Director Kerr mentions. I think we're a little bit too premature. We can do the reporting back, get the idea of the individual costs, decide whether or not there's any issue. From what I look at the maps, there's some benefit that people may want to only go part of the route into the Saybrook area from the other areas. And we haven't really discussed cargo because I've been heavily involved in transportation. There's money there. So this may not be as much of a money loser as you think.
Okay,
I'd like
thank
to
you.
hear more.
Thank you. Director Jules?
Yes, thank you. No, I believe my question was answered. It was also to do with cargo, I believe. But yeah. Sorry. Also with Mr. Yates, was that a motion that we would need to pass? What you just stated?
If I can, we are looking at an amendment motion that basically excludes areas A and D from the service options. That first, we're going to vote on that amendment and then look at the main motion after that.
Director Davis?
I would argue that citizens in those areas may actually be interested in this service, and I don't believe Director Wally is correct in presupposing that everybody is opposed to that, and that if we get the service going, that I think it will grow in popularity and people will find it a cost-effective solution for them.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to the vote. Oh, the amendment, sorry. Director Wally, one last comment?
One last comment, and just in reply to Director Davis through the chair. Director Davis, we already had a service in the past that was a private service from Sayward to Campbell River and back. And a gentleman spent a considerable amount of money, had a very nice van, charged a small fee for people to use it. It quickly went bankrupt because it didn't have any ridership. Thank you.
Okay, going to vote on the amendment. Everybody's clear on the amendment? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, so opposed, we have all the municipalities. Do you need them listed by name? That'd be helpful. We've got Sanat, Dole, Chapman, Kerr, Lanyon, Lott, Davis, Colburn, Jules, and Baker. That's 10 opposed, 4 in favor. The amendment is defeated. And now we'll go to the main motion.
Can I have one more comment on the main motion?
Sorry, what was that?
Could I have one more comment on the main motion?
Sure. Do you want me to read the main motion out, or does?
It's okay.
Okay.
I made it because it was option. So it was option A with service levels D and E. And I'm hoping that this will include, as Director Sanat mentioned, possible cargo kind of fees that could be charged, as well as considering a rise to the service fee and a reduction of a tax consideration or a requisition. So I'm just hoping that that includes all of those and gives us some options between those. I say that because right now the current going rate to get from, I can only speak about my municipality. Currently, the going rate to get somebody to Campbell is $250. So that's what people are charging to take somebody to town.
And to quickly address that, yes, the cost of ridership, there was a survey of how much people were willing to pay, and we'll incorporate that if the motion passes in the next report.
Okay, so one last comment, Director Rice?
So this motion doesn't address the fact that, again, only a portion of Area D is being asked in this. So is there any way that we could look at it broader? Because again, as long as we're only going to tax a small amount of people, I mean, I'm going to be opposed to that too.
Mr. Chairman, just so the board is aware, right now the report and the analysis in the report is based on the presupposition that that part of Area D that lies west of Camel River would be part of the service. That part of Area D that lies south of Camel River would not be part of the service. Area D already has a transit service. Whether that's appropriate to be charged against all of Area D, which it currently is, I can't speak to, but I think if this goes forward, then that part of Area D that lies south of Camel River, the board would have to look at that and decide whether that's to be treated separately from the part that lies west of Campbell River. And I can't really say what that might look like, but we would be looking at those options, of course.
Okay, so we're voting on the motion. Okay, or Director Dahl, sorry.
I just wanted to say that I don't like it at all. I don't see much of anything for the residential taxpayers of Campbell River for this at all. And then I hear people saying how heavy the use would be. But if it was that good, there would be somebody in the open market that'd be willing to provide this service. And apparently there isn't. And I question how the taxpayers of Campbell River benefit from it. Maybe, I mean, I own a business in Campbell River, and I do a lot of business with people from outside of Campbell River. Many of the people that are here have done business at my shop. But the fact that they do something at my shop doesn't help my 13 employees necessarily pay their taxes. So, you know, I have some serious reservations on supporting this and having a hard time seeing how this shouldn't have been an electoral area decision and supported by them and not a request at all to the city.
So, Director Wally?
Yeah, I agree with half of what Director Dahl is saying there. Greyhound used to have a service from Gold River, and obviously it wasn't viable, and they discontinued it. Not enough ridership, couldn't pay for it. It'll be the same thing with this.
Okay, are we ready to vote on the motion? Right, all in favor?
The motion is, the motion is that a further report to examine potential operational models and service partnerships based on service levels D and E be prepared for the board's consideration.
So again, this is just a report, right? So all in favor of the report? Okay, opposed? Director Dahl, Director Chapman? Ben? Thank you very much. You rarely speak, so I just, yeah, thank you. Lan, yeah, there we go.
Just the four opposed?
Just the three opposed.
Four.
Four?
Director Wally,
Wally?
Director Dahl, Director Chapman, Director
Um,
Lanyon?
Yes,
Is that four?
four opposed. Everybody else in favor?
That'd be 10 in favor.
10 in favor, so the motion is carried. Thank you. Bylaw 476, electoral area A noise control. That the report from the CAO be received? I'm sorry? Did I miss that? You did. I missed it. That's horrible, I apologize. Let's go back. Connected Coast Corporation membership. Thank you.
Colburn.
Second.
Second Colburn, second Rice. Director Wally first, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, CAO, do you have anything to speak on that?
I can, yeah, since it has to do with me. So just a little bit of history going back on the Connected Coast. When we started this initiative, our intent was to have a corporation that would, we wouldn't have a partner. We would have a CEO and staff dedicated to run the telecoms corporation. As we meandered through this journey, we were advised or recommended by the funders that we would partner with a telecoms corporation. At that point, we'd already written our articles of incorporation, and that included myself as membership on the board, as we would have a separate CEO and staff reporting there. That formula didn't follow through. We ended up have a partnership which doesn't have a need for a separate CEO on the Connected Coast. I can do those duties in my regular role, and so therefore what I do is I end up supporting the Connected Coast board. I write reports, I speak to reports, I give advice and direction. Therefore, me being on that is kind of inappropriate, and it's more appropriate for me not to be on that board any longer and replace it with a member of the public. Seems how, again, we are in a partnership that has operational, marketing, a CEO that kind of runs those partnerships together. There's no need for us to have it, and therefore, there's no need, in my mind, to continue myself as being a director. I operate as the chief operational staff member to that group and support the staff and the directors.
Thank you. Director Chapman.
A question, if I may. I agree with what our CAO is saying. And when it says a member of the public, does that mean public in general or a member of the board?
Public in general. So when the Articles of Incorporation were created, that the intent and the desire was to have no political influence on there. So membership is just by members of the public. However, we have 2 non-voting members on this board on that. That is Director Baker and Director Rice.
Okay. That was on receipt. All in, sorry? Yes, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, it's carried, and that the SCCNC Articles of Incorporation be amended to replace the Regional District CAO as director on the SCCNC board, with additional members of the public to be appointed by the Regional District Board.
So moved, Colburn.
Colburn, and second, Director Rice. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Now we're going to go back to the bylaw. Bylaw 476, Electoral Area A Noise Control Bylaw. Thank you. Second?
Second, Vinesh.
Wally first, second Vinesh. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, it's carried. And that the bylaw 476 being Electoral Area A Noise Control Service established by law 2022 now be reconsidered, finally passed and adopted. Director Wally.
Second.
Director Mawini, you were so close. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And the report and draft bylaw to deal with the control and abatement of noises considered objectionable within the electoral area A be prepared for further consideration. Director Wally and Director Rice second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And bylaw 484, Race Point Fire Protection. Report from the CAO be received. Director Wally? Ooh, that was close. Director Mawini, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none. CAO, do you have anything to speak on that? No. Nope. Okay, and that bylaw 484 being a bylaw to establish fire protection service for part of electoral area A be introduced and read for the first time. Director Wally. Second. Director Rice. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. And that the rules be suspended by bylaw 484, be given second and third reading. Director Wally, Director Rice. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, it's carried. And that a formal petition be prepared for distribution to property owners affected by the bylaw 484, and that further report be prepared for the board's consideration following the conclusion of the petition process. Director Wally, Director Rice, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Correspondence.
Second.
Oh, now's the time. Jump in there.
I think we need to pull 3 and 4.
You need to pull, sorry, which one? 3?
Number 3 and number 4 to discuss separately.
move 1 and 2. Motion, Director Colburn, second. Director Wally got the first, yeah.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Let's talk about 3. Move 3, second. First was Director Wally, second Director Colburn. Discussion? Director Mowini?
Can you please scroll down so we can read number 3, please?
Yeah, sorry, I'm breezing through this pretty quick. I should slow down.
Okay, number 3 is the letter from the Campbell River Community Foundation revisiting the grant request that they made to us, I believe, originally in November. We, as a board, approved an amount, $3,900, and sent only the $900. And there's been some miscommunications and so on back and forth since then. I thank you to Michaela of the Campbell River Community Foundation for clarifying the request that had been made. And I wanted to say that as a director, I found value in the vital conversation on housing which the Campbell River Community Foundation hosted, and that the requested funds are in support of. And I'd like to move that we provide the
Can I
$3,000 from the
just
regional grant
interrupt
aid
and have
budget.
we have a motion to receive until we
Yeah,
get
we're
to
on receipt.
discussion?
Okay.
I have a conflict, so I'm just being really cautious of this.
Oh, sorry, I
That's
forgot
okay.
about
This
that.
comes up every time with Community
Yeah,
Foundation.
we're still on receipt.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I'll just move receipt then. But then do I get to make a comment after
was
that?
Yes. Pardon me? It's already been moved. All in favor? Opposed?
Anticipating
need
a
to make a
motion
motion.
arising, I declare my conflict as a
There
member
you
of the
go.
board.
Thank you. So we have a motion, please. Director Mowini.
I would like to move that we provide the $3,000 from the regional grant and aid budget for the Campbell River Community Foundation as per the clarification request that we received.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second, Vinesh.
Director Vonish. Discussion. Director Kerr.
Just clarity from staff, was there a mix-up, or was the 3,000, did that come from Campbell River, or what is the history on this?
We may disagree with Director Mowini. I believe the request was for $3,900 originally. We found that the city, Campbell River, paid $3,000, so we put the extra $900 in. I also think that made them flush with their budget. When they came back here, I think they didn't collect as much money as they anticipated, and then they returned for another $3,000. So that's my understanding of it.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. That was a discussion. Anyone else want to add to discussion? No? All in favor? Opposed? Director Chapman, Director Wally, and Director Jules, and Director Lott. Director Jules, you're opposed? You're muted?
My hand was up for discussion, but,
Oh. I apologize. What would you like to discuss?
it was just to clarify what was being said. Was the original for 900, and now they're asking for the 3,000? Is that what's happening, or was the 3,900 in the original ask?
Again, I think at the end of the day, if the board supports this additional donation, it will mean a $3,000 donation from the city of Campbell River and a $3,900 donation ultimately from the SRD.
Okay, all in favor? We'll do that one more time because of the question. Opposed? Director Kerr, Director Wally, Director Chapman, and Director Lott. So that's 4, that's 10 in favor, so the motion is carried. Thank you. Climate Connect Gathering. Sorry? Move 4. Second, Colburn. First, Wally. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Is there an ask, Director Wally? Director Mowini? Go ahead.
This was a letter from Island Health discussing that they're having a Climate Connect gathering, and I wanted to state that I was interested in attending and discussing the intersections of climate resilience and water conservation with island health.
Okay. We don't need a motion on that, do we? For you to go? Do we, Mr. Yates? Do we want to, go ahead?
Mr. Chairman, my understanding is that electoral area directors do have a constituency fund from which they could draw for these kind of events if they wished. Otherwise, if they're looking for the board to provide funding for attendance, then I think there would be a board decision.
It's free? Okay. Do we need a motion to have Director Mawini represent us at all?
Mr. Chairman, if you wish, if the board wishes to have Director Mawini represent the Strathcona Regional District at any event, then there should be a board resolution to that effect. Otherwise, Director Mawini would be representing her constituency, I believe.
Okay. Director Vonish?
I'd like to make a motion that Director Mahoney represent the SRD at the Climate Connect gathering.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Director Rice? Do we have further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Members report. Nope. Management report. Any managers here want to do any reporting? No? We're all good. New business. None. Amendment items, none. Closed.
I would move that the report from the CAO be received.
Director Colburn, Director Wally, do we have discussion? All in favor? Director Davis?
Can I just ask that a link be sent to me regarding the closed session?
Absolutely. No, wait a minute. Sorry?
We're not taking one down and going into another. I'm ending the live stream and leaving the Teams on because we've only got members in the Teams.
Okay, so what was conveyed is stay on this link. We're just killing the live feed. You'll stay on Teams. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All in favor? Director Colburn? Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry?
It's all good. I'm ahead of the game. I was just going to move B.
I'm not there yet. I said I was going to slow down. All opposed? Seeing none, carried. B,
I would move B that we go into closed under subsections 91F, G, I, N, and O of the community charter.
do I have a second? Director Mawini, do I have discussion? All in favor?